Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I encountered a friend yesterday. He asked me some questions, series of questions. And one of the questions he asked me is that where do we Muslims find our prayers? We call salat. Why do we pray salat? Why do we go down on our knees? Why do we put our heads down? Why do we raise our hands in takbirat behind our ears? Why do we also do some certain things in salat facing the Qibla? So I want to correct that here on this platform, Become of Islam. My name remains Sadiq. Now, what is the meaning of the word salat? Salat is an obligatory prayer, either a prayer you are trying to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is so obligatory, and we have the nawafil, the three prayers we pray for your own needs. Now, let's examine prayers, not only in Quran, but also in the Bible, to see that it is not peculiar to the Muslims, that prophets of old do observe the same salah, but in their own way, but just that forgetfulness had made some of all the Jews and some part of the Christians have this doubt that salat is not part of their big faiths. Now let's examine it from the Quran first. I look at the verse in the Quran from Surah Al-Isra. We found Surah 17, chapter 17 of the Quran, verse 78. Allah talks about salat. When he told the believers, he said, Aqimus salat liduluki shams ila ghasaq al-layl wa Qur'an al-fajr inna Qur'an al-fajr kana mahmuda. Now what does it mean? He said, oh believers, stand up for prayer. Stand up for prayer. And do the prayer based on the time. Look at three times here. One is before all the sunset, rising of the sun, and during the sunset, or after the sunset, and early morning prayer, which is the Quran al-Fajr, the Fajr prayer. Now these are three settings, three what? Sections of prayers. Now, why do we pray those three prayers or three timings? These three timings is not restricted to the Muslim, because in the Bible of old, which is the Torah and the Injil, we have these three timings as well. Let's look, for example, I'm trying to be concise here, to bring just two books, the book of Daniel and the book of Psalm, and some other books as well, but precisely two prophets, Daniel and what? David, who wrote, because Daniel wrote the book of Daniel and David wrote the book of Psalm. The way they observe their prayers. Let's see the book of Daniel. Please take it down, brothers and sisters, for reference purpose. Book of Daniel, chapter 6, verse 10. Now, Daniel says, according to the Bible, that when the writing was done, the writing of his execution was done, then Daniel went to his house, opened his door, entered his room, then he opened his window and raised his hand to prayer. Then he prayed to his God, facing the word Jerusalem. Then he did that 3 times a day, as he used to do aforetime. That means he has been doing it before then he continued doing it even more, trying to be close to God before his death. Now you see that Daniel is a prophet of God, and he observes a lot. That's what David also did. Now David, a notable prophet of God, David, the book of Psalm, please take it down, brothers. Psalm chapter 55, verse 17, recorded that there are 3 timings according to in prayer. 3 timings I praise and I pray to God. Why 3 timings? He said the morning, the evening, and the noon. Now there are 3 timings. More also, as Naaman, the book of 2 Kings, chapter 5, verse 17 to 18, recorded also that when Naaman went to his house at Rimmon, he got there and he prayed to God. He prayed to God and took a mole of the earth, put on the ground, and prostrated before God. Now, he also did that. This is what we call facing the Qibla and also following the timing. And now we look also the same book of David. Please, I want to focus on Psalm. Now, book of Psalm again, recorded it in the book of Psalm, which is Psalm chapter 119, verse 164. Talk about the timings. And he said he prays 7 prayers a day. 7 prayers a day in that timing of 3 timings. Now we go again in the same book of Psalm, chapter 119, verse 147, also recorded the same thing. Now the book of Psalm also recorded Psalm chapter 5, verse 3. And also Psalm chapter 65, verse 1. Recorded the same thing. Now, all these timings are there. Now, why do people prostrate? Sometimes prostration is another thing we do in Salah. When we prostrated, we go down on our knees, we put our head on the ground. It's not peculiar to Muslims. Also, the Christians and people of the old did that. Let's look, for example, the first book of the Bible, Genesis. Go to Genesis chapter 17, verse 3. Now, Abraham, not Abraham, it was Abraham that time. Abraham went to his knees, put down his knees on the ground, and put his head on the ground, facing the earth. And he prayed and communicated with God. This is Abraham who did that. Faithful servant of God, the father of all nations. Now we see also in the book of Joshua, chapter 5, verse 14, it was said that Joshua, who took after Moses to lead the people of Israel from Egypt down to Palestine, he went on the earth, put his head on the ground, and prostrated before God. Now this prostration is common among the people of old. It's not peculiar to the Muslims. Now even Jesus Christ did that when he was on his last moment. We see that in Matthew chapter 26, verse 39. He went to a Mount Olive, just Mount Olive, in the middle of the night, and prostrated down, put his head on the earth, and said, "If that be your will, let the cup be taken away from me. But if it's your will, let it be done." Now this, he did that, it's was prostrating, worshipping God. No, it's normal. Now there are many verses, plethora of verses, where prophets of old worship God by prostrating. More of them we see in book of Psalm chapter 4 verse 4, book of Psalm chapter 45 verse 22, book of Psalm chapter 22 verse 22, and book of also Psalm chapter 35 verse 16, and many of them all they prostrated. So we see from those books of the Bible. Now let's move on. Now another one is why do we say takbirat ihram? When we do takbirat ihram, we raise our hands, lift it to the back of the ear, and we bring it down, either putting flat or raising our hands towards our chest. Now, why do we raise our hand up? It's not peculiar to the Muslims. Prophets of old did that. What we do, we don't do it from our own initiative. We follow what the prophets of old had done, because these people were sent by God. Now, let's see what some prophet did by lifting our hands towards as takbirat ihram. We see the same David. David did that. Book of Psalms, chapter 3, verse 4. Take it down. Book of Psalms, chapter 3, verse 4. And also, it's also recorded in many verses in the Bible as well. So we move on to many things on the Bible. There are many issues in prayer. So please, and also, why do we use the word Allahu Akbar? Allahu Akbar is not peculiar to the Muslims. Also from the people of the old. David also did that. Takbirat ihram. And also say Allahu Akbar, glorifying God. It's found in the Bible. So verses mention that. We found in the book of Psalms, that's 3 verse 4. So book of Psalms, chapter 35 verse 27. Psalms chapter 35 verse what? 27. When it says, the word used was Yikdal Adonai, means magnified is the Lord. Allahu Akbar. It's the same statement. So please, brothers and sisters, come in the next video to further explain on the Salat and the prayers, and why do we also not bowing, and we also give some recitation, which is Surah Al-Fatiha, and we give those parameters Surah Al-Fatiha as found in the Bible as well. Thank you very much, brother and sister. My name is Sadiq on this platform of Islam. Thank you.